So many, Tom, in the Greek culture that I've grown up in,
Sure.
kiss the icons.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the ordinary people actually do think there is power in it.
Yeah.
And I think you do want to point people to Jesus and say, this is here to lead you to Jesus, rather than it's in here.
Yeah. But you know, every tradition of worship uses some symbols, some physical objects, whatever. If you go into a modern charismatic church, you might think that the main object of worship is the big screen at the front where the words get projected or whatever, because everyone is staring at it and singing. And I'm sure the leaders of such a church would say, no, we're not worshipping the screen, but to an outsider coming in, it might look like that. I'm being trivial in a sense.
No, sure.
But in other words, this isn't just a problem about Orthodox or Catholic or High Anglicans. It's the same as with making manual gestures, that when I grew up and particularly in the evangelical bits of my upbringing, if you saw somebody in church making the sign of the cross, you'd be a bit horrified. Are they being idolatrous, whatever? Now, you as a Greek would say, actually, the real problem is you did it the wrong way around.
Yes, that's right. And I actually, interestingly, I am a Christian, but I do love crossing myself.
Yes. But why did you say but? There's no need for but.
No.
It's and, because the cross is our life.
It is.
You've got little wooden crosses in your pocket.
I do.
Know. And what we're seeing is a Protestant reaction against ritualism.
Yes.
But ritualism is the abuse of something which is good, just like when people insist on raising their arms in the air. I was once interviewing candidates for a rectorship of a parish when I was part of the appointing team. And somebody from the parish said, we must get somebody who raises their hands when they worship. And I said, I didn't know you were ritualists in this church.
Yes.
And he looked very shocked. And I said, well, you're saying you've got to have somebody who must do these manual acts. Supposing that person, that's just not their way of expressing themselves. Oh, well, in our church, this is what we do. That says it's exactly the same as insisting on crossing yourself. So, I mean, we've drifted away a bit from the images, but I think there is always the problem that any physical objects, any physical acts can become a kind of almost a bit of sympathetic magic.
Yes.
And then the constant challenge for all of us all the time is to be drawn back from anything sympathetic magic-ish to actually worshipping the God we know in Jesus.
Yes.
And that's where Scripture is so important, because when you read the stories in the Gospels, you're led to the feet of Jesus rather than into bits and pieces of our own subculture.